bevi on a beat.
All right, guys, this is LA, and yeah, I don't want to really make this short as I can, but yeah, I wanted to talk about how I would do a Superman movie, and I got a lot of it in my word pad, so bear with me. But I'm trying to make it as short as possible. So basically, I would start off with Clark being in college. Now, I know it's like the Batman origin. We all know what happens. He gets picked up by, parents that become his parents, or whatever. But they pick him up, after he falls out of the sky and crashes and almost killed him. And they're just like, oh, let's adopt this baby. Let's get past that. So I would just jump to him being in college, where he's about to be basically graduating, and he's friends with Jimmy Olsen, and another one of his friends is Kenny, who he's played football with, and Pete, who will be black in this film. And that would just be because, when he was black in Smallville, he was very light, and I like that version of Pete. Not saying that it just has to be black, but that version of Pete, he was more felt when he was a friend of Clark's. So I think it would hit better if they just get the right actor to play that part. So basically, it will start with Clark being in college, graduating. Everybody is graduation. Kenny pops up because Kenny basically is a cop. In the beginning, he's just known as a new rookie cop, whatever. The same as Clark is about to be known as a rookie reporter. Not yet a reporter, but more like he starts at the job. We'll get to that though. So basically he graduates and everybody's at the graduation, having a good time. And this is when Pete takes him to Daily Planet. Basically, Jimmy already hooked him up with a good job, but he doesn't have it yet. He has to go through some stages before he can officially be a part of the team at the Daily Planet. So he's getting basically a tour of the place, and they're showing him around. He gets to meet all the people and, little side characters and people that will kind of, give the comic relief. And then Lois pops up. Lois this is basically an early version of Lois. This would not be a vet Lois. I would show something we haven't really seen too much focused on. This would focus on Lois and her personal life, and a couple of a few changes, but a young, not too young Lois that's a little bit older than Clark, a little more seasoned in the Daily Planet game. Well, we'll get past all that. So he meets her, she blows him off, usual Lois thing. Clark, basically this version of him would not be goofy falling around. He would be more of looked at as how can I put this? I wouldn't say lame, but they would look at him as kind of a weird, cleany guy, where he's a type of guy where he would wipe where you left something in his house. He would just put something under the cup, or he would talk about how you could dress better in front of people. He's that type of person where he would get on you for being rude in front of an older person. Really show what he learned from his parents and get in depth with that part of Clark, but not the goofy, but that would separate him from Superman. Superman would just be this cool superhero guy, always, not too serious, but serious, where, he has a happy feeling, but he's always a guy that just has it all figured out and knows how to solve it, and you just never really see Superman make too many mistakes. So basically, his pops is in this story. His pops is not dead. His mother is still alive. And his pops is still alive in this story. I think there will be a refreshing take on it as well. Have his father and mother still be alive in this film. So, like I said, they go to Daily Planet, and then of course she downplays him, and then they talk about the flood in Gotham. See, I would like this story to be connected to the Batman in his universe, but not necessarily meet up yet, because this will be a take of where it just literally seems like Superman's the only thing that exists in his universe, in this world. That's how good of a story I think I came up with. But anyway, they would mention the flood in Gotham and talk about just different events going on. And of course, Bruno, a very well-known gang member in the comics, gang leader in the comics, and he would be mentioned as well. They would talk about how the problems are going on in Gotham. And of course, Lex comes into the picture. They introduce him by him getting dressed for basically a speech where he's going to announce his new technology. Mercy's helping him get dressed, and he's talking to her in normal Lex fashion. I would want this Lex to be based on the late 90s Superman animated series, where he's just this guy where he's kind of built, where he's not a guy you feel like you could just punch and knock out. He's somebody you probably is going to have a pretty hard time knocking down. A lot more manly, a more intimidating manly voice. Does seem like somebody that would just be very, squeaky, where he's just like, I'm going to hurt you. And then we get to him, he's like, no, don't hurt me. No, this Lex is fearless. But anyway, they would have it where, of course, he would have a speech, and of course, Lois would be there, and she would be asking him all the craziest questions, and almost gets him caught up early in the film. That's how dangerous of a reporter she starts out to be. I want this Lois to be not really, how you would see most women be, where she's aggressive, toward men, where she's just so quick to just be like, a man hater. I would want this to be a refreshing take on women being represented in the films, where the woman basically would be more feminine, where she would show her femininity, but she wouldn't be too to where she's like, oh, save me. No, she has that tough mentality to where she shows it in a very unexpected way. I would have it to where you look at Lois as somebody that you don't have to always tell something to do or watch her and make sure she's doing right. She has experience in fixing her car. She can change her oil. She can change her tire. Of course, her father is in the military in this film. This my idea how I would do a Superman film. And I would have it to where you see all of that, but she doesn't just throw it out there. She doesn't just always get smarts with a man every time he says something or try to make him look bad. Basically, the man, it will be in a creative way where the man would make himself look bad. Put her in very creative, original moments where she shows that she's a strong woman without coming off as a bitch. You get the point. So, anyway, she almost gets Lex caught up, and Lex gets mad, of course, gets security to put her away or whatever, and she gets away from security. And then she ends up attaching a tracker on to one of Lex's guards. Jimmy asks her, did you get it? Did you get it? And she's like, patience, Jimmy. Classic Lois and Jimmy exchange. Patience, Jimmy. Okay, I got this. It kind of shows she's very confident in what she does and what she's able to do. And of course, it cuts back to Clark. He visits his parents and looks around the barn. He sees an old paper of him being the Blur back in his high school days. So basically, that's what I was telling you guys. I wouldn't just go straight into the origin. I would show that he, pieces and bits of it and really save it for other moments in the sequel. But I would show that he was a hero around the time, just very secretive, very low key, didn't have too many big time villains where it's just like, oh my God, it has to be looked at. No, he faced a few metahumans that were very low key, but that's what he was known for later on in his around junior and senior year at high school, where he became kind of like the Blur. And he had his own little suit, which you will see in the film as he walks through the barn. It's hung up to where his pops look at it sometime and reminisces on his days of having to keep the secret, and his mom, of course, as well. And they have to really protect him and make sure that they don't find out, that the government wants to investigate on it as well. And of course, he has a little flashback and these flashbacks would be really fast, by the way. They wouldn't be long. And there would just be flashes of him facing different enemies and him flying for the first time and falling. Like his flying, he still doesn't know how to fly in this film while he's in college. He has temporary moments where he's flying and then he just falls and crashes. So then it would stop and his father would show up and they would talk and catch up. And of course, that part would be very felt. I want him and his father to have exchanges of, I know you're a man now. I'm letting you be a man, but just remember this, remember that. And Clark just like, I know that, I got it. Just kind of really get John's presence felt to where you don't have to worry about him getting killed. He's alive. He's here. And then it would cut to Pete and him and Kenny playing football at the stadium. Now this will be a cool part because I would want this film to be more of Clark having, down to earth moments, not him fighting and flying all the time. No, I would want you guys to really get an in-depth experience of him being in Smallville, reminiscing on his high school days and not doing too much with it, but showing that, hey, there was some fun times, interactions, really get a Smallville type of vibe where him, Pete, like I said, Kenny, and a couple other little no-name guys that they just, happen to know from high school to get together, play football, and just have some fun. And then you'll see a little moment where him and Kenny would get into it a little bit, not, just competitive. You know how men are. And I would really show that part of how him and Kenny were great teammates, but also low-key rivals. But they helped Smallville win a championship that year, his last year, his senior year. So, of course, they would laugh, drink beer and everything. And then Kenny would talk about his past. And he would tell them about also how it's not easy to be a cop and how he doesn't want he's glad he didn't take the job in Gotham, kind of a Gotham reference. And then, of course, he talks about how, his parents were affected and how, from the kryptonite that fell from the sky. That will be talked about later, I promise, but that is just a part of Kenny's origin. And if you look it up, what Kenny is going to become in this story. And of course, Pete cuts it off because he's tired of the sad stuff. And he talks about how Metropolis is getting better. It's the opposite of Gotham. It's more like day. Gotham's more like night. And he says Metropolis is the future of how other cities should be, literally the standard. And he talks about how Lex got a weapon approved, how it's going to really change the game for the cops and really stop the crime from rising. Kenny even says no, he disagrees with it. Like, no, we don't need that. We need to stay down to earth, human, because the more we lean on technology, the more problems we have that will be worse than what we have now. He talks about how we're going to lose control of ourselves. And then he talks about what he's seen in the sky that fell, the meteor shower. And it was a very small meteor shower. And he talks about how that kryptonite messed with his father. Hit his family, and his father and mother was infected. His father died quicker because he had more of an exposure. And as he looks in the sky, you see Clark looking at him and kind of reminiscing a little bit and kind of thinking, damn, dude, like, I might have been the one to get his family killed. Am I the one? It's kind of like he's having that moment of really conflicting on what he caused, of him just coming to Earth. And of course, they end up, cutting it off. And Kenny tells him to visit him sometime. He also tells Clark that he has a school visit he's doing. You know how the cops come to the schools. And this would have a moment where Clark would have funny times with the kids, and they're laughing at him, whatever. And he'll kind of make jokes out of it. He'll kind of a moment where you see him interacting as Clark Kent before he becomes the reporter Clark Kent, where he's by Lois' side, and he always has these moments where she doesn't know about, and it's kind of funny because Lois thinks she has it and she's the one that's running the thing, but doesn't even see him speeding behind her, taking care of everything else. And of course, he talks about how cops need to shine too, and he hopes one day Clark can report on him and his fellow cops and the good that they really do. So I'm going to cut it off right here. This is just going to be part one. I'm going to do more parts. I have it all here. It would take too long to do it in one video. I appreciate you guys watching, and I hope you enjoyed what I said, and I can't wait for you to hear more. I hope all you have a great day and be safe.